make millions of dollars from basically calling out a retired man and beating him up in front of 80,000 people and millions watching online. That's crazy, man. You can actually Shazam with your mind. That would be possible.
I think so.
But I do not want to gamble that. I would.
Mom, do I look like I'm ever gonna get fat? And she is, probably you are, but not today.
Pretty graphic, but he ripped it in half. So he ripped the head off the pigeon.
Okay, then I guess I'll have to move. If that's what he wants. I felt forced.
And I believe we're heading there, and I believe it's only a few more years until we will not know what's real and what's not.
Luke's Royal Podcast just for you.
So hello, Dennis.
Hello,
welcome
man.
to my podcast. My first episode. He is our first guest, Dennis. How was your coffee?
It was great. It was a good blend. Recommended by you. I don't think what blends did you mix? Guatemala and...
No, yours wasn't mixed. I told you that I'll mix mine because I liked how it was.
Okay.
But I told you, so yours was Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
How was it? How do you think?
It was good. It was smooth. I didn't expect it to be. The first one, yours, which I've tried, wasn't. I didn't quite like.
Actually, I don't like it either. It's mostly, I think, because of the espresso machine. Because I am using an espresso. I'm not like saying bad things about it. I'm just saying mine is old. And if they'll ever sponsor me, I'll be gladly accepting it. Capsules I use are actually specialty coffee capsules, so they're not brand from Nespresso.
But where did you get them?
So Media Market here in Austria, like they have
the electronics store.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because they sell espresso machines, and because they sell espresso machines, they do have options.
I remember you sent me what was that on Instagram? You sent me a picture of that, and you were pretty excited to make me one.
I really
and then it wasn't planned for you to make me one day. For you to make me one day. But now. Before we started the shoot, I mean, you made me one. It was quite good.
And you remembered me. So I don't know if you see, we do have these nice glasses over here.
Yeah.
I do have a present for you. So as my first guest, this is homemade grape juice, and it's white grapes. So it's something special. If you want to keep it, I'm glad, or if you want to share it with us, that'd be super awesome. Share your opinion. So,
bro, that's pretty great, man.
It's homemade. I do have a link. No. Can you search their site, because they do have a site.
Traubensaft Bianca. I think it's an Austrian company.
It is. So they're an Austrian family that's all they do. They have a farm, and they make spirits. They make fruit. They're like punches, and they had this, but this was a limited edition, and they don't produce it anymore.
Ah, okay. So it's a rarity. Okay.
So I was very psyched.
We actually deal with people like these. I work in a firm that deals with giving out, not giving out organic certificates, but all the controlling part of that. So you make sure that the operations run according to the standards set by organics institutes, and we often deal with people that make punches like that. So that's something my firm will enjoy.
Okay, so I have a question. Does it often happen that people don't get accepted? You guys find something that just doesn't work and they can't get the certificate?
No, the thing is they are certified by a higher governance. We're just making sure that so we are checking for bacteria and things like that, or things that are possibly contaminating the whole operation. So we do not get to to take away their certificate, but we can, I believe we can
fine, like give them...
I don't think we can fine either. I think we have to deliver what we find to the proper authorities, but it's something I have to talk to my boss a little bit more, because I work in another department. I'm in sales.
Okay.
And it's a different branch of the business. It
and
almost
how
has
is it?
nothing to
How
do
is
with
it for you in sales? Is it exciting, boring?
The thing is, I was kind of thrown into that because so this job I've had, I believe it's almost 6 months. I've had this job for almost 6 months now. It was quite difficult, man. I'm gonna be honest, because the thing is, a huge part of my job is calling clients and calling people, suppliers, and I'm not good on the phone, man. I like open conversation, I like a face-to-face talk, but calling people on the phone, I was pretty how do you say, I was pretty timid in the beginning, and I used to do about 200 calls a day in the beginning just to get used to that feeling, and now I'm pretty fine. But it's a stressful job, because you have to keep in touch with, I believe we have about 1,000 clients, and I'm the only person that is working that in that department.
Do you think because of your experience at this job, you evolved in any way, like mentally or socially?
I believe what I've been able to achieve is I'm certainly a lot better on the phone. I'm not that timid on the phone anymore. I'm much better at approaching people, even though they may seem unfriendly. I'm a pretty good resolver right now. So okay. I'm a pretty peaceful guy, so I like to resolve things, and that's what you learn. That's one thing you learn under pressure, because if people call you with complaints, you need to keep your calm, you need to keep your cool, and you need to resolve the situation anyway. So I'm a lot better at quick thinking. So yeah, and another thing I'm pretty good, I'd say, is having a friendly tone, even though I am challenged. I may be insulted over the phone, but I think that with practice that all goes away. So you learn to keep yourself a little bit under control, under pressure.
Okay, so you remembered me something very funny, because as you know, I worked in specialty coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've done a lot of coffee, and I worked in this environment, and you usually find friendly peoples there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't find, so most peoples who aren't friendly, that's probably because they didn't have their coffee, but we understand that, you know. But I'll tell you a story. So there is this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He always came to our coffee shop. He always came, and every single time he was grumpy. And I'm a person who actually believes in like the vibe of a person. So if a person has a good vibe,
Mm-hmm.
everybody else has it.
Okay.
And it like connects. People connect spiritually. That's why I believe there is something more than just man to man. There is something bigger than us. And the interesting part was that I saw him every time he came. He came regularly at our coffee shop, and he always ordered the same order. So he had 1 espresso,
Mm-hmm.
1 cappuccino, and 2 waters. That's all he was getting. And it was funny because you know, most coffee shops, they give free water for every coffee you have. And if you want to know, and I think I'm pretty sure that I'm right, Austria was one of the first cities that actually did this. They actually gave water with coffee. So in other countries, we didn't have this yet. I was shocked when I first came here, and I came with my father. We were going at a water park, and I had this cousin with me, and he was like, okay, let's go and get a coffee. And I was small, I didn't drink coffee then, but my father got himself a coffee, and my cousin did too, and they brought us our coffee and water, and my dad was like, I didn't order water.
Mhm.
And my cousin explained to him, we do give water at every coffee because caffeine actually it dehydrates you, and Austria is obligated to give you water. So that's what I understood, because then that person, if he like faints or something, he can blame the person who gave him the coffee. Apparently other countries started to do that too, because I guess they were fined too.
I didn't know that it came from Austria, but it makes sense. I mean,
I did saw it first in Austria. I'm not sure, but I told you. It's
complaining about fainting because you had coffee and no water, that sounds like an Austrian thing, to be honest. Austrian people
in
are
America,
not.
I haven't heard it, and I've been in America, and when I saw this happening in Austria, I was like, okay, it might have just started from here. Back to you. We all heard the big fight between Jake and Tyson. What opinion do you have about that?
Where do you want me to start, man? I have a lot of things to say.
I'm very curious your like full image. Just give me a non-detailed opinion.
The thing is, I do not consider myself a big fan of fighting games, but I enjoy them, you know. And it's something that does not sit right with me. I mean, a 27-year-old kid, I mean, he's not a kid, he's a full-grown adult with supposedly the right mind to decide things.
I mean, he did work at Disney.
Yeah, he was a Disney kid and a social media influencer. He was and everything in between. I mean, yeah, he proclaims himself a boxer, but didn't actually fight nobody. The thing is, the only guy he fought that was an actual boxer of his caliber, I mean, with similar skills and all of that, was Tommy Fury, and that's the only fight he lost. And the other fights he's had with guys like Nate Robinson from the NBA, or Ben Askren from the UFC, or Anderson Silva from the UFC, and all these other retired MMA fighters, they were all either older than him or several weight classes under him. So, but the thing is, with the thing that happened this weekend, he just took it up to another level. I mean, calling out a 58-year-old guy for another fight.
The thing is, and why I do believe what he did was good in a way, is that he does claim in the fight that he did all he could. Bro, it didn't look like it. I mean, just look at the fight. It didn't look like Jake gave it all. You can look at other matches that he had with other players. Bro, there you can see he gave it all. Like, his punches were strong. Like Tyson, you can see he tried.
He tried, man, but his feet weren't there, man.
Man, he went with an accident, at his foot. I bet. So this is my opinion, and anybody who says that I'm stupid or something, I'm guilty. But I do believe he would have won if he wouldn't been if he wouldn't have that accident at that foot.
Yeah, because he had it was kind of like a compressing sleeve on his right knee, I believe, and Roy Jones Jr. called it out, the commentator, and he's also a former champion I believe he was a heavyweight champion, if I remember correctly. If not, I'm sorry.
Did you know that Tyson was actually the youngest weightlifter ever to be? Actually, I do have a link. Can you put it up so we can see it? So there is this article that they were talking about because of the fight, and they say that Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion at the age of 20 in 1986. And bro, that is very appreciated.
But do you know how he started boxing in the first place? Honestly, so he was I believe he was growing up in Brooklyn, so in a pretty rough neighborhood, and he had a pet pigeon. And one day, I think a 15-year-old kid, he was 10 or 11 at the time. He was pretty young at the time. That's the only thing I know. But some kid just took his pet pigeon, and he was like, you know how he talks with the lisp. He begged him to give him his bird back, and he just took the pigeon. I mean, it's pretty graphic, but he ripped it in half. So he ripped the head off the pigeon and tossed it in front of him, and that's when he kind of snapped and beat that kid to a standstill. And
okay, so that's interesting because my dad actually sent me a video on our family group with Jake Paul showing him his pet pigeon. So Emmy, if you can show us the video with Mike Tyson didn't get Jake Paul's pigeon. Wait for the end.
How do you feel about that?
Huh?
You like Mike's love pigeon. What do you feel about that?
It looks like a low budget pedigree.
We pay thousands of dollars for that.
This is an expensive pigeon.
A few moments later.
He said it's a fucking cheap low grade. What kind of pigeons did you guys get?
That's a justice thing, bro.
You paid $2,000 for this?
Yeah.
You guys got scammed, bro.
So they just got scammed trying to make a prank on Tyson. They got scammed because they paid $1,000 on this pet pigeon, and the pigeon was actually
just your run-of-the-mill pigeon. I mean, I don't think you can fool Mike Tyson. He actually has a pigeon enclosure.
But he was passionate about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you guys just come up with a pigeon, he's gonna know what pigeon is that.
Yeah,
you
you cannot fool
You can't tell him you actually paid that much for a pigeon. And it's funny because I do believe Jake is gonna go through his money way faster than Tyson. And I'll tell you why.
Why?
He's not good with money. He is not good with money.
Can you back up your claim?
Bro, he paid $1 million only for his like fighting pants.
For the shorts and the shoes. Yeah,
for the shoes and for the gloves. Bro, I bet he got scammed on those. Cause he claims that they were iced with diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they were iced with diamonds, but the thing is, there are two types of diamonds. There
Mm-hmm.
are natural diamonds and chemical made diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
And the laboratory diamonds, they're so much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look, can you search a photo with his pants when he fought with Mike Tyson?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a lot of diamonds on.
No, they don't. They only had a few stripes along the shorts and on the shoes, I believe. Yeah.
There were not a lot of diamonds. And, bro, $1 million for that?
I mean, depends on what diamonds you have. And the thing is also that I believe a friend of him made the shorts. I think his name is Alec Monopoly. I believe he's a street artist.
Okay, so maybe that's why.
Maybe that's the up price he paid for the pants.
Yeah.
I believe.
Maybe you're right, but so I did see a photo that there is a claim that Jake Paul did win much more money at this fight than Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So forget about the photo. Can you put so there is a photo with Jake and Tyson about this. So Jake Paul claims making $40 million for his fight, while Mike Tyson is rumored to get 20. That is half of the money, bro. And
But the thing is, it doesn't make sense, because he only, and I stand on this. I stand on this fact, I believe. So I believe he only got to make that Netflix deal because Mike Tyson was on it. I mean, for the first ever live stream event, do you think they would have given that to Jake if he fought any other than Mike Tyson, one of the greatest of all time? I don't think so.
If I remember, did Logan Paul fight with somebody? There was a fight.
He fought Floyd Mayweather 3 years ago, but that was an exhibition bout, so it doesn't go on your pro record. So if you technically lose the fight, you still don't get a point deduction in your overall record.
Well, he's not really that big of a fighter, you know. I mean,
Logan Paul.
Yeah,
he's trash, man.
He does like to look like he's serious, but he's not.
Nah. And I also don't. I believe. Did you watch the entire interview after the Jake and Mike Tyson fight?
No, I didn't have. I was tired, bro.
Because
I stayed up all night, and I actually went to work before that day. I waked up at 4 in the morning, so I was down. Like I told you, I drank 2 coffees like this with double espressos. I couldn't stay awake. So there was the first match, the second match, I fell asleep, and then the third match with the girls. I don't know how, but I waked up, and then I finished watching. But the Netflix did crash, so
yeah, that was.
I did have to watch the last part of Mike Tyson and Jake. I had to watch it in the morning. I did have a bit of sleep afterwards, but I didn't have patience enough to watch the full thing afterwards.
I also didn't wake up to watch the fight because my phone battery died and I didn't get to be waken up by the alarm, because in Austria the time where the actual fight between Jake and Tyson was supposed to be was around 5 a.m. I didn't want to wait until 5 a.m. so I put my alarm on at about 4:50, but my phone basically died and I woke up at 7 a.m. and I couldn't watch the fight because I needed to wake up to go to the rehearsals.
Yeah, but you didn't have to watch. At the okay. Yeah.
But after the rehearsals, I saw that Netflix had the entire event, and I watched the last hour, including the interview afterwards where Mike actually called out Logan for a potential future fight. The way Logan responded, man, it just didn't sit right with me. He told him basically like, man, I'll kill you and whatever, you know.
I actually saw that part. No, I think he said, I'm gonna beat you up so bad or something. Like he just said you're not gonna have any chances with me.
Yeah, but it's rude, you know, because Jake gave Mike Tyson his respects afterwards.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean the way Jake respected him. I mean, I do think it was the best strategy that Jake used, because he was hated. He got so much hate because of this fight and because he chose to fight Mike Tyson because he's old. The way he respected Tyson is just great. It just everybody was like, oh, okay, he's trying to do it diplomatically. He doesn't want to, you know, show off or show that. He did show off, but not like.
He didn't knock him out or anything.
Knock it out, exactly. Even though I do believe he could have.
He could have, but I mean, you do not want to be known for knocking out a 60-year-old man, you know, in front of 80,000 people. I mean, okay, he's a bad guy, or you can call him a bad guy, but I think he has morals at the end of the day.
He has morals,
or a line he doesn't
afterwards,
cross.
he's gonna get canceled so bad from media.
The thing is, he can only keep this up for, I believe, 2 more fights. But if the only thing he does is fighting all old people, I don't think people will be interested anymore. So he cannot pay his $20 million purse he has for every fight.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
But credit to him, he was able to market this whole thing, make millions of dollars from basically calling out a retired man and beating him up in front of 80,000 people and millions watching online, made his money. I can respect him as a businessman. I don't think I can respect him for the way he went about it. Particularly the opponent he calls out. I mean, yeah.
I think you kind of caught the things we're gonna talk about on this podcast, because the theme of my podcast is mostly sports. I'm a big fan of Royal Sports, so that's why my whole podcast is called Luke's Royal. And my favorite sports are actually shown on the display. And it's only because it's very formal. I really like elegance. And
do you like equestrian sports? Do you like equestrian sports? So the horse things and all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually wasn't very onto it until there was like this girl from high school. I didn't really have any thing with her.
In the States or in
here
Romania?
in Romania.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that I lived most of my life in Romania, because in the States I lived until I was 8, and after I was 8 years old, so mostly my childhood, we came in Romania, and this is when everything started. So school and my life, I mostly know my life in Romania. The only memories I do have in America are my friendships. So those were the strongest things, and I believe for a child this is the most important thing until 7 years old, 7, 8, until 10, let's say. That's where his confidence and starts to get into shape, because there was a big shaking in all my body and my mind, and physically I was destroyed when I came in Romania, because nobody understood my lifestyle and my way to show the world who I am. Like, people did enjoy the fact that I was American for the first like year, but then it just kind of faded out, you know. And the fact that they didn't understand my lifestyle and I didn't understand them, because they were really not into all the things I was into in America. So basketball wasn't a thing when I came here. I was like, football? I don't like football. Or soccer, how we used to say it in America. But I got used to like football. Cause what, football? Like American football? They never heard about it.
No.
Like Europeans actually play rugby. So rugby is like a version of American football, but it's much more dangerous. It's much more harder.
You don't have you don't have protection, and I believe it's a different gameplay.
Yeah, it's
so you cannot pass. You cannot go to the front because you have to pass it backwards. It's sort of like I don't know what to call it, but you have to pass the ball backwards to make a pass somewhere. I don't know. I've only seen about 2 rugby matches in my life, and I do not get the scores.
Yeah, I'll get more into it in another podcast. Maybe I'll find a. Actually, I do have a friend who played rugby. I might just call him as a guest.
From Romania?
Yeah, from Romania. He actually loved it. His father was a rugby player, and he always like beat me up with the idea that American football is for women. I was gonna say another word, but I'm not gonna say it. So yeah. So I do have a question for you, and it's interesting because I did have the same like. Because you guys invited me to have dinner with you guys, and I really liked the way you have dinner together. Because actually I saw many similarities between my family and yours. And the thing that shocked me the most, like shocked me, was the fact that you and your brother had the same room. So me and my brother, while we grew up, we always had the same room. And even though my dad makes houses, you know, like we could have had separate rooms always. It didn't matter. But my dad always loved the idea of guys staying together and girls staying together. What opinion do you have on your, like, because many friends were like, you live with your brother in the same room, don't you have privacy, don't you know? Like, how would you tell a person who like all his life lived just him in his room?
Man, it's I'm pretty torn on my opinion, to be honest. I mean, it was most of the times I always wanted to have my own room, because privacy is a thing, and having your own space is just a different kind of feeling. For example, when I'm away, I believe he has the space he needs to do whatever. And when he's away, it's sort of like you can retreat more into being more at peace. Like at the end of the day, when you really don't want to talk to nobody, not because you don't want to, but because you just need your you time, your me time.
Your me time, yeah.
Your me time. It's a different feeling, but I have to say, some of the best memories I've had was when I was pretty little, playing with my brother, with the toys we've had, with the Legos we had.
Yeah, because like living together in the same room, you always had to share. This is one of the like hardest things I learned when I grew up, sharing. My dad always forced me to share, and me being like the biggest sibling in the family, like you are, man, I bet you had the same thing. Like, we were always pressed. We were always responsible on the happiness of our brothers. We were always there to help them and make them feel better. Like, even now, I have the same like weight on my heart when I get with people that are friends of mine. I always like feel the need to make them feel good. So if let's say we get out with somebody, we after church, or you know, we have a meeting and everybody's silent. I'm not used to silence because my house was like a chaos, not in literal way, but we always had something to do, you know. There was always movement and activity. And me, when I get out and like have time with friends, when I see silence, I'm like, is everybody okay? Something is wrong. Please tell me what's wrong. Did I do something? I always compressed this feeling of like, I'm not accepted, because I always have to prove. I was that kind of person who always had to prove himself because I didn't get the response I wanted to. So if the person didn't laugh at what I said, I was like, what did I do? And I did get over it because, so everything started, I was telling you, everything started from when I moved in Romania. And I wasn't accepted by the person around me. Kind of everything got messed up. I didn't really know what is with my life. I didn't have any more that confidence that I did have in America, and because I didn't have any siblings to talk with me, bigger siblings, and have to like explain to me how it is. I did have my my smaller siblings, and me growing up and discovering these afterwards, I could tell them, and I can see from my little brother, I can see that I helped him grow his confidence because he did not have it either. And the fact that he had a bigger sibling, that helped him. Even now he calls me and says, hey, how are you? I miss you. When are you coming home? And I'm saying, holidays. He's like, oh, damn, I really want to see you. I'm like, of course you are.
How's it been being that far away from siblings, family? Because I personally never experienced something like this being...
So I had incident before like moving here in Austria that I had to move from home because I was kind of a rebel person, and my dad didn't really want me to influence my brothers in any bad way, shape or form. And so I was like, okay, then I guess I'll have to move if that's what he wants. I felt forced personally because I didn't have any more privacy. He was always trying to figure out what's up with me, even though it was clear that I just had to have my space and try to figure things out. The thing is, when a parent wants the best for his child, sometimes it happens that he just does the opposite that he should. And I believe that it kind of what happened with me, because he was always pressing me, and all I needed was a bit of space to clear my mind. And so I moved out, and my first experience was it was very suddenly. So I just had to go, and I didn't have any apartment, I didn't have anywhere to go. And so I called some friends, some people that I knew. I was like, hey, you know what's up, help me. I helped you too. I was a person who liked to help, so I always had people who were willing to help me back, so repay my goodness, you know. And that was very useful in that moment, and I learned to use that in the future. So even though I don't usually do it because I get something back, I do it, and I do see like moments that I'm like, oh, that's very good that I did that good thing, because now he can help me. Even though I didn't do it because of this, now I have the opportunity, and I personally don't feel bad. He might have just helped me anyway, but the fact that I helped him too, I don't like feel the necessity and the awkwardness to like, you know, try to repay it back. So it was a she, and she gave me her couch to sleep on. And it was quite an interesting experience. I stayed there for, I think, a week. Then I think I stayed other 2 weeks to other friends that I had. And that was a mess, man. The fact that she had a dog in her flat. Bro, that dog pissed and actually twice, I think, shitted in the house. And, bro, that house smelled. I mean...
And that was in... How old were you at the time?
I think I was 19.
Okay, so it's not even that that long ago. It's quite recent, actually.
It's quite recent, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And that was all the way in Cluj?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Romania. It was quite an experience, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, yeah, sleeping on somebody's couch, I believe I don't know if it shapes you in some way, but I believe it changes something about you.
You do think, I mean, I did start to feel free. Was pressed by my father, so I did have time to do stuff I wouldn't have done while I was at home. And in a way, I had time to discover that some things are good to do, and some things actually weren't. And actually, my father was right to like try to not let me do it. And what I believe in, I think I'm gonna do this with my children and just let them go and see. I'll tell them that it's a bad thing, but I can't force them to do it. I mean, I'll tell them, be careful, because if you'll smoke, you'll probably have cancer. It's 80% chances. If you're willing to risk 20%, but I'll just be like, hey, I don't really like the smell of smoke, so if you please wouldn't smoke when I'm around, you know. I can't force my children. I will plant good seeds in them, so I will show them the right way to go, but I can't force them. You can't force yourself sometimes to do right things. It's hard to shape yourself and change yourself. Why would I try to force somebody else? And I do believe that's the same with like finding your future wife. I believe that you have to find a person that you're willing to get her with her goods and with her bads, because you have to understand and willingly take that she might never change. She might never change.
Yeah.
And just the fact that maybe you don't have those negatives doesn't mean she's gonna observe them. Because it's like, think about this, it's all their life. So a person lived in a house that they never cleaned, so they just throw their clothes everywhere and throw their garbage everywhere. And I do have a story after I'm gonna tell this. So they're messy. If they live with a person who is clean, they're not gonna observe
conflict of interest.
Yeah, they're not gonna see the fact that they clean up, because they're just gonna throw the trash again. They're not used to seeing things clean, that's for sure. They're probably gonna they're probably gonna be shocked because it's not messy, but it's not gonna change the fact that they're gonna do mess again. If they do feel like they want to, or maybe you'd go to them and say, hey, I feel uncomfortable, and maybe the compassion and everything will they're gonna try to change if they think that it's bad that they throw trash. And so after I lived at this person with the dog, and I did used to wash the dishes and clean up the house because I wasn't used to the kind of environment. And afterwards, I moved at a college campus.
Okay.
So there, I moved there just because it was so cheap. So I
The actual dorm rooms, or
dorm room, exactly. I
Mhm.
moved to a dorm room. I moved to a dorm room, and I moved there because it was very cheap. So
what was the housing price for a dorm
so
room?
the housing price with warmth, with electricity
Mhm.
and water, everything was a bit over 140 euro.
That's nothing, man. That's nothing.
That's
That's actually crazy.
That's very cheap.
What was the square meters?
And I used to live very close to the center of Cluj,
Mhm.
so it was extremely cheap. But the fact is, because it was a private dorm room, dorm college room,
Mhm.
because of that, it was private. They didn't really, you didn't really have to go to college.
Mhm.
So there was like a
So it was
loophole
not.
in the system,
Mhm.
and I got in it. I heard it from a friend, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going there.
Mhm.
That's exactly how I'm gonna live, and that way I'll have a better chance to like." Even though I do have a full-time job
Mhm.
in Cluj, because Cluj is an expensive like city, you had to be very financially responsible.
Mhm.
And the fact that I had a very cheap place to live, I could do a bit more, you know. I
Mhm.
could have like went and eat in restaurants sometimes, not always, but like have a better experience to live alone, you know.
Mhm.
I actually could afford like a gym membership,
Mhm.
because until then, when I lived at home, even though my parents could have gave me the money, they were like, if you want to go to the gym, you got to make your own money and go to the gym.
Mhm.
Because like, if you want muscle, just go and work and find something that makes you muscle, like
Mhm.
wood chopping and things like that, you know, something to build. You want muscles, then find a job that builds you muscles, you know. That was their
Oh, so
theory.
their response was for you actually to get a physical job
Yeah, I mean, they...
or have a hobby but not necessarily go to the gym.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Because they didn't really like the idea of, I'm going to spend money on hobbies. They always were on the cheap end, because even though my dad did make a very good amount of money, he always liked to go the cheapest when it was about hobbies and free time. He was pro at this. He
Mhm.
always searched for the cheapest places to go, and we actually had good times,
Mhm.
like experiencing.
Mhm.
But he always like tried to go the cheapest way, and we obviously saw that it's still fun. I mean, if you pay a better price, you do have a better experience,
Mhm.
but it doesn't mean you're not gonna have it if you're gonna pay cheaper.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, but I believe you have fun with the people around you, man.
I tried to.
Explain.
So
What do you mean with you try to?
yeah, I tried to have fun with them, because I am a very active person.
Mhm.
So I do try to have fun with them. It's just how I am. I'm not very used to like just stay on my phone. The only reason I'd give someone to stay on their phone is if they're waiting for something. So if you're like waiting in a line at Starbucks,
Mhm.
I don't like Starbucks,
Check
but
your
just
phone real
saying,
quick.
you're just gonna stay on your phone, because if you're not gonna stay on your phone, you're just watching people.
You're just reading the menu of the chalkboard or whatever.
You're just staying there and looking around.
Mhm.
Everybody's gonna look at you like, what are you doing?
But I had a time where I actually tried that, man. To be honest, I was working because you know there is in Austria we have the 6 months military service.
Okay.
But you can have the choice between military service or working at the paramedics.
Yeah.
Not as a fully not as a full paramedic, but you do the so it's like a 1 month course and then 1 month of practice. and then they send you off on either transporting elderly people or sick people towards hospitals or appointments.
Oh, that's nice.
Or they give you certain issues you have to resolve. For example, if somebody calls 911, they may send you, if it's a code A or a code B. But if it is a code B, you need to have somebody with you that is higher up, that has a higher rank.
So somebody who studied the actual problem that we're talking about.
He has a lot more experience and he studied a lot more. And basically, during that period, I read a few. That's when I really started to read a little bit more and get a little bit more into podcasts like Joe Rogan or what do you call that? A whole niche, self-help.
Okay, that guy, the Indian guy.
No, not the Indian guy. The whole genre around self-help and and bettering yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when I read a book written by Sylvester Stallone. So it was his fitness book and whatever. Or I believe it was a reel I've watched on Instagram or something like that. But it basically told you to put down your phone and actually look around you when you're waiting in line at something, or to actually take the stairs. So basically to make your life a little bit less comfortable so you can actually grow and not devolve as a human being. Yeah, and that's when I started when I waited in line at, for example, Subway, I refused to take out to look at my phone, and it was a little bit cringe at the beginning because I was just standing around in line looking at nothing or anything else. But it kind of lets you to it not that it necessarily opens your eyes to the world, but it's a different experience. You're much more aware of what's going on.
And I do think you do have then that moment when you don't stay on your phone, because obviously I was joking about like when you can stay on your phone, but like even when you go to the toilet, we go with our phones. So we're like. Just imagine the idea.
I don't like admitting to this, but it's true, man.
It's true. Like
it's a different thing.
You go at the toilet and you forget your phone. What's your first thought? Oh, I forgot it. I can't shit now. I have to go back.
I go get my phone and finish my business.
Yeah.
No, man, but the thing is, if I actually tell myself what I am doing at that moment, it sounds ridiculous. I mean, you do not go to the toilet without the phone. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's at least a habit I'm trying to get rid of. Or for example, and my parents are right about this, but when I'm eating, it's a little bit rude to have your headphones on and watch whatever when they're also at the table.
Oh yeah, when they're also, because we did have this thing from a small age. I did have this rule: no toys at the table. And when we grew older, obviously our phones, and they were like, no phones at the table. There is no chance. And even my mom used to like tell me, why are you watching something when you're eating? You know it's not healthy. And I'm like, Mom, do I look like I'm ever gonna get fat? And she is, probably you are, but not today.
Man, but you know what? I've recently, or do you ever have that thought where you think, okay, man, it is that darn phone. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? You sit back, you think about what you have been through. You think about all the things you know and all the things you don't know, and you come to the conclusion that Mom was right. It is that darn phone.
Yeah, but like I did heard, I think it was some comedian. He was talking about the fact that when the COVID hit, and he just watched on his phone, and he was like, okay, I am so done with this. He was like, I'm gonna put my phone down and try to think. And the funny part is, he tried to think, but without no information, like helpful information, just think. He said, that moment I realized how dumb I am. So yeah, just don't let your phone down and just think. Like, take information and dig in it. Like us as Christians, we used to like read a verse or do something, and we meditate on it the whole entire day. So we maybe read something in the morning, and it helps us because there are useful things we read from the Bible. And from on the day we go on, we actually find out, bro, this is helpful. Or maybe it happens that it can actually happen something that day that verse can actually help you go through it. It's crazy. And you were saying about like trying to leave your phone behind, and that you're more aware of the surrounding. I think the most important thing that happens when you let your phone and don't have anything to do is that you start being just you and your thoughts. Why do you think the rating on kids with depression and anxiety grew so big in the last years? They don't take their time to like think about them and have their time with their thoughts. Like they have insomnia and all these mental problems that they have. They're not used to like being like having time with themselves and like thinking, bro, what am I doing right now? Who am I? We as a Gen Z and the next generation Alpha, we don't have time anymore to think about what we are. And that's kind of a bummer. And that's why I think the more time we take and like meditate with us is the way we can avoid like all these mental problems, because we do see it in our society today. It's a big problem.
The thing is, we're constantly exposed to anything and everything, you know. We go on our phones, we're exposed to social media and the things that it promotes. And even if you see like a post you don't agree with, it still feeds into you. So if you see something, it stays
printed in your head.
Exactly.
Maybe not then, but when you get off your phone, it comes back. You don't even have to stay on your phone to actually consume the media they feed you with.
No, it stays with you, man. It stays with you.
It's sad.
And that's the thing, man. I believe it's one of the main issues when it comes to the high rates of people being depressed, of the high rates of people being miserable. It is because all of the social media standards. So there are standards that have been set by social media, and we believe that that's something we have to achieve. And it's the comparison of, okay, look what this guy has and look what I don't have, that is sort of gnawing at our insecurity. And I believe that's a big factor of why a lot of people are depressed, a lot of people are sad, unfulfilled even. Yeah, it's a big issue that I believe no previous generation ever had to fight that. And the thing is, if it was a little bit different, because the first people that were introduced to this social media at this large scale was actually people from our generation.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been introduced to the whole social media scene when I was 12, and I believe me, bro, it benefited in a few ways because I was able to keep in contact with people I've met from other towns or other cities even. But yeah, it's a lot of bad information on there. A lot of bad things that attack your insecurity. That a lot of things that makes you question yourself. That makes you question. How do I say this, man? It's just... Yeah,
it's like a weapon. It's like a knife. You can use it for good things, and you can obviously use it for very bad things.
It depends on you, man, but the temptations of using it for the wrong purpose is even more. It's even more prevalent, man. And that's something that nobody has taught us, you know, because we were not that we were the experiment, not that we were... How do I say this? So nobody taught us how to use the phones, you know. We sort of figured it out.
Nobody knows.
On the way.
It's like AI right now. Nobody knows how to use it. Actually,
now we're still trying.
They're trying to discover new ways to do it. They're showing us how the AI is making art, and bro, why would we need that? There will be a moment when things that we actually need from AI will happen, and the thing is, we're gonna discover it alone. It's like when I downloaded Instagram the first time. It wasn't even a thing when I started using Instagram because my dad was actually, it's a funny story. My dad didn't like the idea of me having Facebook. I never knew why. I never knew what Facebook is. I just knew I wanted it because everybody had it. And somebody told me that, oh, Instagram is kind of similar. And it was that when I installed Instagram, it wasn't yet bought from Facebook. Facebook didn't bought Instagram yet.
No, so it was the usual conception.
Time. Yeah, exactly. So just posting pictures, that was the whole thing. And I had to figure it out all by my own. I didn't have nobody to teach me because obviously my dad didn't really knew what Instagram is. That's why I actually got myself the app.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think 2 months passed, and then the Facebook bought, and it changed. Everybody was starting to get very social on the app, and they were using messages, and I actually enjoyed that because I was a person who didn't really like WhatsApp, and the fact that I liked to stay on Instagram and the fact that I had the messages to use them there, I was like, oh, that's great. I don't have to change apps anymore. And apparently everybody started to agree on that. And this is how I discovered Instagram, and I didn't know how to use it for good. I didn't know that I have interests that I like, and I used to like motorcycles and artists that make pictures, and it was an interesting moment in my life because that's when you first get on social media, that's the first moment when you like figure out what you like, because you see all this information and you don't know which is which and why do you get all this information, and the algorithm just starts selecting them because he sees what you like. And it's crazy especially for me then, it was crazy how they actually knew what to offer me. Back then I was like, they know what I like now? It was crazy. It was insane.
Yeah, that was all the way before we figured out what algorithms were.
Yeah.
That's a scary moment.
So that's what I'm saying now. So we getting into AI is going to be a next era.
But the thing is, it's kind of crazy the way it has evolved over the 2 years. Because you remember the first images that were created by AI, they looked terrible. But now, not that they look realistic, but the way it looks, it's starting to go towards the direction you see in the Matrix, where you don't know what's real and what's not.
Oh yeah.
And I believe we're heading there, and I believe it's only a few more years until we will not know what's real and what's not. And that's freaking me out, man. That's really scary.
I did read a book. It was crazy. That book, it was a sci-fi book about the era when gaming became to be reality. So you just got inside a coffin and you started to live a gaming life. Like you actually had to eat in that game. You actually had feelings, so you could feel. And the concept of everything was like people started getting hacked in the game, and they were getting blocked in that game, so they couldn't get out. So they couldn't get out of the coffin. They couldn't wake up, and they were dying in their own game. Like,
okay,
that was an insane book. I can't remember because I was a child when I read it, and it kind of hit me hard because I was like, bro, this is 100% possible. Because if we actually think what Elon Musk is doing with his chip Neuralink and his chip, and like, bro, this is getting very close, because Neuralink is actually getting information, but the moment when the information is gonna add to a person's mind, that when everything is gonna change.
Yeah, it's a scary concept. It's truly a scary concept. I mean, I haven't read that much into that. He promoted it in a way where I believe it's for treating people with mental disorders, and he also told in a press conference that you can actually play music in your own head, which I believe is kind of crazy.
That's scary.
That's scary, man.
Because
imagine you have an earworm and you literally cannot get that out of your head, man. That's incredible.
But then Neuralink will be like, let me listen to it, and he'll be like a newer and better version of Shazam, and he was like, oh, I know what song you're thinking about.
That's crazy, man. You can actually Shazam with your mind. That would be possible.
I think so.
But I do not want to gamble that. I would never in my life.
I mean, the fact that this chip is going towards the people who have mental problems, I'm scared because, of course, we were talking about this before. There are a ton of people who are starting to have mental problems these days.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in 1-2 years? Maybe everybody's going to have it. Or not 1-2 years, but maybe in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting close because like people are trying very hard to control other people's, and there will be a moment when that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when everybody will have mental problems,
mm-hmm.
certified or not, and Elon Musk, of course, he's gonna be like, oh yeah, take my product, I need money.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bigger person's over it, and of course we are already going in a whole other direction, but just think about it, people who want control is going to try to control us with that chip. It does really sound like a beast sign. I don't know.
The mark of the beast.
Yeah, I feel like it's going towards that direction because we're talking about control.
It's similar.
I mean, I'm not saying that it is, but when you take the facts, is like, is it possible that what the beast sign does and what this can do in the
mm-hmm.
future are similar? Then you're thinking maybe it is that.
I believe it can be used for similar things.
Yeah.
So it's not that it is the same thing, but it's awfully. It's like from the same genre.
Yeah,
it's the same.
What
same
opinion
genre.
do you have about like? There was a thing that Christian were saying that the vaccine was the 666 sign.
I don't know, man. I think personally, I think good conspiracy theories, but it's okay. It's yeah, that's for me. It was ridiculous thinking about it.
It was funny.
So reflecting on that, it's ridiculous.
You gotta be very, I don't know. Honestly, I'm thinking you gotta be very stupid to actually think that. Cause like,
I don't know, man.
Injecting what? Microchips in you, and how are they gonna work? I don't get it. Cause they did have a very big conspiracy, and somebody came with this thing like, oh, give me your phone. And he was going on Bluetooth, and he said, do you see all these devices?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, yeah. That's the persons who got vaccinated, because there were like codes. There were not, you couldn't, if you clicked, they were showing that it's unavailable.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, that's the chips from your body when you got vaccinated. No. I was like,
that's crazy.
Oh my God, that's a very funny conspiracy, and maybe it's real, maybe it's not. I don't care. I can possibly care enough.
But I'm gonna be honest about this. It does raise a little bit suspicion, because I personally know a few people who have been, I don't want to open the debate, but some people have been vaccinated, some people that are pretty close to me, and they have been regularly getting sick. So depending on who you are and how your body reacts to the vaccine, it's awfully different. For some it works, for some it doesn't. I don't know what the whole spiel is about that, but it is suspicious. It is suspicious, at least.
My theory was that I was always I was good with immunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always good with immunity. And when the COVID came and hit, I was like, bro, I have immunity. Why would I need this?
Mm-hmm.
Then there was like that news with the best immunity guy ever. He died from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, he probably suffered something else. I don't know. Shit happened,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I bet I won't have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got COVID, and I had no effects at all. It was crazy.
Okay, that's
Because I
crazy.
didn't realize at the moment. They just said, "Oh, you had COVID." I was like, "I did not have COVID."
Mm-hmm.
I know that everybody who had COVID didn't taste, didn't have smell, didn't have that. They were very sick, very ill. I said, "I was quite regular. I do not remember none of this." And they were like, "Yeah, things can be very different from person to person." I was like, "And now you're telling me that you want to vaccinate me?"
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Yeah, so you could be safe." And I'm like, in my theory, I look kind of safe. So no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So this was my personal approach with vaccine. Probably I would have gotten it if there was like a bigger issue in the back. Like if I knew, bro, I'm kind of problematic with this thing. So if I knew, bro, I'm sensible to COVID, it's literally a vaccine. And who cares? Like, if I'm gonna die now or I'm gonna die later. So I do see life more like a experience than how much I do want to live. Because I did have this wish when I was younger that I want to live until 100 years old. This is, even now I think I do want this, even though I know I'm never gonna get that. Because like,
you never say never, man.
the thing is that I don't have a very healthy lifestyle, and even though I know I could like fix it, I'm too lazy. I know I'm too lazy.
Yeah, that's
things,
always the excuse, man. That's always the excuse.
But I do want to see a better future of mine, so I will try to change it. But yeah.
Bro, I'm being honest. If there is a time where we can actually, where we actually have all the things we need to make it to 100, I believe it's now. Because we have all the information we need. I mean, it's quite difficult to get the right information because there's so much out there. But if there's a generation that could possibly make it to 100, if we do everything correctly, I believe it's our generation. But bro, honestly, the thought of getting old scares me, man. I don't know what it is. Not that I hate old people, but it's
You hate pain?
Yeah, it's because I worked with so I had a lot of patients. So when I was working for the paramedics, I had a lot of patients that were either had chronic issues, that had pain a lot of times, that had appointments every other day, and that scared me, man. That's when I became a lot more aware of how important it is to treat your body from the beginning and be preventative about things.
It's like your teeth. If you don't wash them, you're probably gonna
get them
messed
cavities and all of that.
Yeah.
Nah, man, but it's crazy. The thought of being, I don't know why it scares me, but the thought of being old is a little bit terrifying to me, because I like being young. I like being this young and be free, but feel physically fit and feel well.
Yeah, scientists are talking about the fact that it's important that your mind to get younger. So people are actually studying and finding out that you can actually make your mind younger, to get younger with your mind, and your physique to get younger, even though your body is eventually getting older, but your mind is the most important thing, because then everything is going to go work better, because we're talking about white cells, and that can eventually they die, and neurons from our brain, they eventually die. And if we try to have the right diets and do the right fitness things, and don't stress. Apparently stress is one of the biggest issues of getting older. You get older because you stress out, and your mind gets older because you stress out. So if you're trying to prevent all of these, your mind starts to actually get younger than get older. It's interesting.
Yeah. Stress is a big factor in our well-being. It can even interrupt gains, man, if you believe me. So if you have you're confronted with a lot of stress, it can actually prevent you from growing muscle, even though you sleep right, eat right, train right. And that's crazy, man. Yeah. That's why it's important to keep peace, man. try to do the things that bring you peace. If it's being with your family, if it's watching a show late at night, if it's relaxing, playing an instrument, everything that brings you peace.
I mean, like you were saying before, that me time, you know, that time you can just chill, try to figure out what you're doing with your life is beneficial. Yeah. So thanks for being here. Thanks for coming on.
Right, it was a pleasure.
Luke's Royal Podcast. I do have one question, and I think I'll put it for everyone who will be guests on my podcast. If you'd do anything to change the world in a better place to live, what would you change?
To make the world a better place?
Yeah.
It's a difficult situation, but maybe what I'd love to be is somebody that always seems hopeful, even though things are quite messy around me.
So hope for everybody. You wish that everybody would have hope.
And if I could be a vessel through which God can bring hope to people, then that will be amazing, because hope is what keeps you sane in messy times.
That's nice. That's very uplifting. And I do have one more question, and it's because of the theme of the podcast. What is your favorite sport and why?
My favorite sport, that's my favorite sport to play with people is volleyball, because it's I believe it's fun, and if you're willing to be competitive, it's one of the best sports out there. I'm pretty trash at it. I'm trying to be better. My favorite sport to watch though might probably be MMA. MMA.
I'll have to give it a try. I did not watch MMA until now.
Try watching a few clips on YouTube.
I will give it a try.
All right, man.
Thank you very much, and let's hope we'll see you again.
Of course, man. Was a pleasure being here, man.
Luke's Royal Podcast just for you.